What's going on? It's Flyers game day. There's Brian Smith. It looks to me like you're upstairs in the press
I
box.
am upstairs tonight. Yes, we had
Yep.
just enough audio issues last night, last time, with you being at home that we decided to simplify things a little bit. So I'll be upstairs tonight, and
Okay.
we'll have some fun up here with Flyers and the Blackhawks.
Yep. Flyers, Blackhawks tonight. I'm at the home studio. I was planning on coming down tonight, and as you know, I did the game on Tuesday from home because I wasn't feeling well, and my wife started not feeling great. My son had it this weekend, and my wife's like, "We got these tests that the government sent us, the COVID
Yeah.
tests." She's like, "I got to take one," and she took one. And she's like, "I think there's a faint line there." I looked at him like, "Yeah, there's definitely a little faint line there, which means you're positive." She's like, "Maybe you should take one," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I took one, and mine within 30 seconds was like a neon
Punched you in the
sign.
face, didn't it? Yep.
I was like, "Turn off the light, bars open," I was like, "All right, guess I'm not going down to the game tonight because the
Yeah.
last thing I want to do is come down there and expose any of you guys, broadcasters, anybody that gets on that team plane to go to Detroit tomorrow, and then I get blamed for that. And makes
Well,
no
we
sense.
appreciate the consideration. Yes.
Yeah. So I went right back upstairs, put on the pajamas because I was all dressed and ready to go.
Yeah.
Back in the pajamas for day 4 of those, and here we are. Flyers Chicago tonight, and I think the thing that's interesting about this game to me tonight, Bri, is kind of where these two teams are because they're not in far different places. They've been to far different places recently. I mean, Chicago won 3 cups in the early 2000s, 2010, 13, and 15, with that core of Taves and Kane and Duncan Keith and Seabrook and Hossa, Niemi, then Crawford, But they're obviously, in an overt tank mode when you trade away 2 very young players in Kirby Dach, who was taken in 18, and Alex DeBrincat, who could be part of your core going forward.
Yeah.
But they moved both of them, which I thought was pretty overt.
Yeah, I find it very curious that they didn't want to build around those guys.
Yeah, I mean, DeBrincat's a 40 goal scorer.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they thought I don't have what the return was in front of me, but obviously they thought they could get something that had a sum that was greater than each of those 2 individually, because that's really the only reason that you would do that. Again, I don't think anybody in their right mind in this league, just lets the air out of the tires in the hopes of getting a first overall pick, because it's statistically more likely that it will not happen than it is that it will. So,
Yeah.
You try that and you could just be stuck holding the bag when it's all said and done. So they obviously saw something that that they liked in the offers that they got back, and that's why you make a trade like that with a young player, is because you think you can do better as a whole with the folks that you get back. That's again, we talk about it a lot, that draft where the Flyers passed on Cole Caulfield, took Cam York. Their thought is that Cam York plus Bobby Brink eventually will be greater than Cole Caulfield. So that's the reasoning behind it, and we'll see where it goes.
The thing about DeBrincat, he was traded for the 7th pick in last year's draft and the 39th pick to Ottawa. And I looked at it and I was like, I thought he would have gotten more than that. But and you would love to have gotten Ottawa's unprotected 23 pick, but you weren't going to get that.
Yeah, and we talked about this too at the time. I believe that he's got some large number attached to him, right?
Like he's going to be an unrestricted free agent after
UFA,
next year.
Yeah, UFA earlier than most people you think of his age.
Yeah, so he can walk completely.
Yeah. So unless you're prepared to dangle $9 million in front of him, it's a bit of a scary prospect for you to give up too much for him.
It's interesting too, because all the 2 of the biggest names that were talked about that the Flyers should acquire last offseason were Alex DeBrincat, one of them, and the other one was obviously Johnny Gaudreau. Ottawa, where DeBrincat went, teamed up with Claude Giroux, has 43 points, 2 points behind the Flyers. and the Columbus Blue Jackets are tied with this Blackhawks team and 28 points at the bottom of the standings. One player does not make a team.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty
is
apparent.
yeah, Brinkett is older than I thought, and I think a lot of people thought. I mean, he's already got 400 NHL games, and like you were saying, his entry level contract is long in the rearview mirror, and this is the third year of his second contract, third or fourth year, and yeah, his restricted free agent days are done. So yeah, it's again, when you're looking ahead as a team, when you're in Chicago's shoes. You're looking for guys that can replace him that you can pay $1 million a year for about 5 years, right? That's just the nature of today's NHL. And so that probably had a lot to do with why they decided to move on with him, not necessarily because of anything he did as a player, but, the fact that he's going to be taking up a good chunk of an unknown cap situation here pretty soon.
And it's a good point that you bring up, because to be a team to build a good team that can go on a run in the playoffs, I think it's important that you have a couple of players that are on entry-level deals and restricted free agent deals. But, I mean, we're seeing younger players get paid bigger money now than ever before. It used to be a league where you got paid on what you did. Now it's a league predicated you're going to get paid on what they think you're going to do.
Right. Yeah, because you've got a lot. There's a notion of cap certainty, so you're trying to lock guys into a certain spot and figure out where you're going to be down the road. We've also, again, been stuck in this flat cap era since COVID, and the hope is that time is coming to an end, so we can start getting, some, revenue increases just in general, just some growth back in the game economically, which hasn't been there for the last few years. But then, yes, once you have a little bit more wiggle room, you'll start to see some of those middle class guys, if you will, maybe stick around a little longer. But until then, you got to make sure you're not putting yourself in a bad position.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, there is a hockey game tonight between these two teams. Flyers will look to win back-to-back games. They got that Anaheim win on Tuesday night amid some controversy.
Hear something?
Yeah.
Everybody warmed up.
That's okay. Everybody. That's a step in the right direction. And I know Torch spoke again today about this situation, and I'm happy tonight to just put it all in the rearview mirror and move forward. Provorov is in the lineup tonight. He's going to be playing with Cam York once again. No lineup changes here, other than Hart comes in for Sam Ersson, who played on Tuesday. And the goalie situation kind of playing out how we talked about that. The plan probably all along was to get Ersson Tuesday's game. He kept it. Plan all along was to get Hart this game. He's keeping it. And we'll see what the split is on the weekend with Detroit and Winnipeg.
Yeah, and the other wrinkle here is that I believe tomorrow is the day the Flyers have to do something about Felix Sandstrom. So there's a couple of options. The easiest thing for the Flyers to do in terms of the rules is to just bring Sandstrom back up from Lehigh Valley and send Ersson to Lehigh Valley,
or someone to Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, we'll say that's the simplest move. The second simplest move is to keep 3 goalies. Yeah, right. Yep. So then you've got 3 guys sitting around, and then the complicated move would be to put Sandstrom on waivers, which I think they may have actually would have had to do it today, so he clears tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's where it could get messy. So we'll see what happens, but. There's going to be lots of games going around for all the Flyers goaltenders that are healthy. I think the other thing that complicates the situation is we understand Troy Grosnick is hurt down in Lehigh Valley. So they lose Sandstrom, and all of a sudden it's like you better get your gear out of your basement because they might need you under certain circumstances. So.
And they better be able to score a lot of goals and block a lot of shots. I mean, that's part of the equation as well. And carrying 3 goalies is just so beyond not ideal. You ever try and play chess with 3 people? That's what having 3 goalies at a practice is like.
That actually, the thought had never even crossed my mind. But
yeah, because it makes no sense. Well, it's one end to get one king against Jason, the other king that you're trying to topple.
You're missing something, Jason.
What am I missing?
It's 2000s night here.
Uh-huh.
They're showing that commercial where Peter Forsberg is in bed with some lady. Remember that?
Yes.
The old NHL Game On commercial from 2006. Oh, I had not seen that in a long time. That's good to see that.
Yeah, that's the thing is, having 3 goals. There's only 2 nets in a practice. One guy's just kind of going, okay, I guess I'm the third wheel here.
Yep.
And it's just not ideal.
Not ideal at all. It's bad enough when you're not getting reps in game, when you don't get reps in practice either.
Yeah, how you supposed to
deal with? So.
Yeah, how you supposed to stay sharp and all
for Ryan?
I'm going to listen to him right now. I'm going to listen.
Getting to be about that time. Betsy's not waving his arms, although Coatsy is.
I'm you in my left ear,
right next to Coatsy today.
And I'll ask him how much time we got there, Rye.
I'll show everybody the
2.5 minutes. Okay.
The clown show next door here. This is what I get to look at all night.
Well, there's Coatsy and Timmy hanging out over there.
They're hanging out there. Yep, they're getting ready.
I got some advice from Timmy today in regards to my COVID recovery.
Yep. Well, I got him back in quick, so hopefully you can have the same result.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
And let's juxtapose our booth versus the one next door, where a rising star, Kaylee Chelios, does color for the Chicago Blackhawks with John Weideman. So,
well, at least Dubas isn't next to you tonight to shoot you darts. After you told him he needed to rearrange everybody on his team.
Yeah, what are you going to do about this roster here, buddy? Huh?
Yeah. He was shooting darts at Smitty. We'll get to the starting lineup, or not the starting lineup, the line combinations tonight. Let me just tell you now, we're not even going to get to them. They're the same.
They're the same.
It's becoming predictable, and that's maybe the most ironic thing in the world.
And if anything, John Tortorella today was less concerned about getting Justin Braun in than he was a week ago. He says he crosses his mind occasionally, but he doesn't spend a lot of time on it. He's not going to force it. So,
yeah, when the opportunity presents, and it will present itself.
Yeah, somebody's going to get banged up, or you know, it's coming. It'll be here sooner or later.
Yeah, and Justin Braun's a guy that knows what it, been in this league a long time. He knows he can jump back in and be Justin Braun. It's not like he's going to lose his confidence or ability to play. With as much veteran status as he has.
Got a little bit of breaking news here.
What do you got?
The Cooperalls will be available via online auction next week.
So they'll wear them like one more time, and then they're going to auction them off?
Yeah, I think we have 2 more Throwback Thursday games. I don't know when you're going to actually get your Cooperalls, but they're going to be in the auction next week, according to the Flyers Charities Twitter account.
So look for those at some beer leagues. Some guys will buy them and be wearing them in beer league, and then they'll realize, wow, I'm sweating even more than before. Let's get the Cooperalls off and get the socks back on.
Yep.
All right, we got 10 seconds to join our radio audience.
All right, I'm going to switch headsets.
That out of my ear. And we'll go here. That's right. It is Flyers Game Day, brought to you by Betway. Brian Smith, Jason Myrtetus, getting ready for Flyers Blackhawks from Wells Fargo Center. 2000s night. Oh, the 2000s. Part of it was fun. Part of it wasn't. Sounds like my high school years.
Yeah, it was. It was. You had a conference final run, right? Followed by a fall off a cliff after the lockout. And then we capped off the decade with a Stanley Cup final appearance, which I don't know where that final appearance gets lumped in. I think they might have pushed it to the 2010 celebration. It should be in this one because that team was built in the 2000s, and a lot of the 2010 guys were on that team. So, it's kind of one of those weird lines in the sand you got to draw. But it's we've seen some neat things so far tonight, and we have a lot more coming. I've personally spotted Kimmo Timonen. I know he's in the building. So see who else shows up here tonight. It'll be nice.
Kimmo's one of those guys that was so good at both ends of the ice.
Yeah.
At just killing plays defensively and making smart plays offensively. I miss Kimmo Timonen. I love watching Kimmo Timonen.
I'll never get over him being like a 10th round pick or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Like some round that doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Where he was picked in the draft. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, and he was a lead by example lead by example kind of guy as well. Flyers, Blackhawks tonight, and the line comment. We were just talking about this on the stream. The line combinations are the same. It's still Frost, Tippett, and Van Riemsdyk. The Cates, Farabee, Konechny, Lawton, Hayes, and Allison, Brown, Delarier, McEwen, Provorov and York, Sanheim and D'Angelo, Sealer and Ristolainen, and Carter Hart. So that remains the same, Brian. I think everybody, all those guys on the team just want to get back to the conversation of being hockey.
Yeah, exactly. And depending on, how much you check Twitter, I think a lot of these guys, I don't think the conversation ever left hockey. So they're gonna step back in here and try to continue what they did the other night, which was dominate the Anaheim Ducks in the first period. We've talked about Anaheim not really being a very impressive team this year. Well, Chicago, according to the standings, is worse. So I'm a little intrigued here to see what the Blackhawks look like tonight. I can't say I've seen them yet this year, but this is a stretch here where the Flyers really want to come in and really show that they can handle business, because it just kind of provides a little confirmation that they're not at rock bottom. They are somewhere where you can build off of. That's less, not quite as far down there, and that they can build off of that and move up. They've showed that so far this year, and I think they're just going to try to continue it.
And one thing we talked about this in Stick to Hockey today, that one of the things that you see in the NHL, these teams that are putting themselves in the best position to be at the very top of the draft, since 2008, and Stamkos' draft year was 2008, since then, only one player that was drafted number one overall has won a Stanley Cup, and that's Nathan MacKinnon in 2013. You look at all the number one picks of Edmonton, Buffalo, all those teams up there at the top, and you go, well, you can't just flip a switch to saying, okay, we're going to be a winning culture now. And, that has to happen. You can't cheat.
Right.
The integrity of the sport, I think, is what I'm saying, and just expect to flip a switch and have that change, because, I wouldn't want Cutter Gauthier coming up here, having traded Kirby Doc and Alex DeBrincat, and knowing I'm trying to tank for a guy, because I think that's bad juju.
Right. Yeah. And again, for everybody out there saying, well, this is different. This is Connor Bedard, yada, yada, yada. Well, I give you Connor McDavid. I mean, again, he's obviously the best player in the NHL, and
the four other first overall picks before him, by the way.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's notwithstanding. I mean,
yep.
Let's nail Yakupov up now.
Yeah.
But even without that, even with McDavid being your focus, right now the Edmonton Oilers are in danger of missing the playoffs. So it's not always a matter of getting that best guy anymore. It's just not how this sport works at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe there's another conversation when we have more time to talk about it. Having one of those guys, you have to pay him so much money. Can you build it around them? That's the other part of the equation,
I wanted
too.
To ask Kyle Dubas the other day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he grabbed four of them and paid him a ton of money.
Yeah. So again, it's about building. It's why when there's an Olympic team, they don't just take the 18 best forwards or whatever. They build an Olympic.
They build a team.
Roles,
yeah.
And that's exactly why. So.
Yeah, and you look at some of those teams that won multiple cups, like Chicago and LA, who won those two cups, and Pittsburgh, they were depth teams as well. But it is the Flyers and the Blackhawks tonight, 2000th night at the Wells Fargo Center. Tim Saunders, Steve Coates, they've got the countdown to face-off, followed by all first period action, so stay tuned for that. You've been listening to Flyers Game Day, brought to you by Betway on the Flyers Broadcast Network.